The Mariners just finished up a 3-game set versus the Tampa Bay Rays, taking 2 of 3 games in that series. Joe and I are going to go over each game, including game 3, which I think in terms of offense was the most fun one to watch. We're then going to talk about a quote from Ryan Divish on the Marine Layer podcast, talking about possibly trading one of the Mariners starting pitchers this offseason, as well as trading away Randy Arozarena. And we're going to wrap it all up by talking about the upcoming Los Angeles Angels of Disneyland series starting on Friday. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 117 of the Hit It Here podcast, part of the Bleav network. Be sure to give us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast from. And this is going to be the Lori B episode. We're dedicating this episode to Lori B, someone that the Mariners community has lost way too soon. Lori, we had a good time with Lori at a game recently. And unfortunately, just a few days ago, we found out that she had passed away. So dedication to Lori in this episode, a big Mariners fan. And Joe, somber way to start the episode, but shout out to Lori B.
No other way that I think that we should have started this episode. Big respect. I'm glad that we were all able to share that final, the moments there. That's the big final thing that the person that reached out to us kind of said, hey, I was very happy that we were able to do this with you guys. This was an awesome experience. And it meant, not that it didn't mean anything during that moment, but knowing that it was impactful and powerful enough to kind of expand beyond just that night. It means a lot to us. And that's kind of I don't know. That's what I love about building the community up in that way. So with that out of the way, the Mariners won a series, Colton. You mentioned it. They took 2 out of 3. There were still things about this series that maybe some people aren't super heavy on, and kind of a little bit of a grievances here and there of how the offense looked. Overall, pitching was largely sharp in this one. A tale as old as time in 2024. The pitching was good. The offense at times was bad, but showed some life in certain moments, and we'll touch on that. Like you said, the third game was the one that everyone's okay, wait, hold up, let them cook. Let's see if they can continue this away from T-Mobile going on the road trip. We know how well the Mariners play at home versus how they play on the road. And you mentioned it's the Angels. Haven't looked good against the Angels at all this year. So honestly, any Mariners bets this weekend, maybe take the unders, okay? Maybe take the unders on anything that's not pitching related. Take the unders, and you can do that with BetOnline. Thank you to BetOnline for being a sponsor for the Hit It Here podcast. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your #1 source for everything football, and the final part of the MLB season as well. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. And if you think you know your stuff, you can get in on the $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week. That will give you a chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. Head to the website today to get on the action. BetOnline. The game starts here. Game 1 got us kicked off in this series, Colton, on a high note. Randy Arozarena going yard against his former team for the first time in T-Mobile Park. I finally got to tweet Ty's pose picture, video, whatever. I finally got to tweet that. I've been waiting ever since he posted it. So thank you, Ty, for having that out in the Twitter sphere. But a good game, I'd say, in game 1. The Mariners struck out 8 times, walked once. There wasn't a lot of walks going around in this one on either side. But someone no walks or no strikeouts for the Mariners offense. Bryce Miller, double digits in this one against the Rays. 7 innings, only 2 hits, both to Josh Lowe. 1 earned. It was a home run, but he did strike out 10 batters. A great start from Bryce Miller in this one. Opposite him, Ryan Pepio, a guy that struck out, I think, 8 across 5 innings in his start against the Mariners earlier in the year. Goes 6 innings here. Mariners tag him for 7 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 6 Ks, 2 home runs off of him. A total of 5 runs. That Randy home run was a 3-run blast. Colton, the Mariners amassed 7 hits in this one, all of them coming off of Pepio there. Erasmo Ramirez, old friend, comes in for 2 innings, does some cleanup work. Mariners win this one 5-1. What else stands out to you from this game?
Yeah, I mean, Jorge Polanco had that home run off the bottom of the foul pole, which was just crazy. It was a screaming line drive out to right field. Everybody except for Julio, Justin Turner, and the recently sent down Dom Canzone that played in this game had a hit. Josh Rojas did end up having 2 hits in this game as well. So I don't know. Overall, the offensive approach here, again, only striking out 8 times. They only walked the 1 time, but against a guy who looked really good against them recently, and someone who we've talked about a little bit as obviously the headliner in that package for Tyler Glass now this offseason. I think that overall, we look at the offense and say, yeah, they did pretty all right. As for the pitching staff, Bryce Miller just looked fantastic again. Night in and night out for him. He's looked really good recently. And just capping it all off here with a 7-inning, 2-hit, 10 strikeout performance, and then turning it over to Austin Voth and Trent Thornton, who went and combined 2 innings pitched with 3 strikeouts, no hits, no walks. Like, the pitching was phenomenal in this one, holding the Rays to only 1 run. And going into game 2, Joe, unfortunately, the pitching wasn't able to keep the books on the Rays quite as close.
The thing is it's your starter, your ace this year, Logan Gilbert, does his job well. 6 innings, 4 hits, 10 strikeouts, back-to-back double-digit strikeout games for the Mariners starting pitchers. I mentioned not a lot of walks, decent amount of strikeouts in game 1. There's a lot of strikeouts in game 2. 31 combined between the two teams. The Rays struck out 14 times as a team. The Mariners struck out 17 times, dude. That's absolutely crazy. Jeffrey Springs started the game for the Rays here. Goes only 5 innings because he is on a pitch limit, or innings limit. Either way, he's limited in his appearances here, but he strikes out 9 across those 5 innings. Mariners just not a fantastic day at the office as far as the offense is concerned. You get 5 hits. 2 of those are Robles. One's Cal, one's Randy, one is Mitch Haniger, and then just a plethora of strikeouts just down the entire lineup. The only guy that didn't strike out, who was a starter in this game, was Robles. Like, just not good. Not good in general. They lose this game 3-2. You had a 1-run lead there. They didn't score until the 6th, but then immediately after Logan comes out, Chargois does give up a 2-run bomb to Jose Siri, and then Yandy Diaz does hit another solo home run later. You get 1 back, but it just doesn't end up being enough. You had some chances in this one. 6 left on base, 1 for 4 in scoring position. The Rays not much better. They just were 1 run better than you in this one.
Not much opportunity for the Mariners in this one on the offensive side of things. They did, however, have a chance in the 9th inning with a runner on first base. They just weren't able to capitalize on it. I mean, a home run wins you that ball game, but again, a 1-run loss for the Mariners. They were in the game. It wasn't pretty, but they were in this game until the very end. And I think that from what we saw like 2 weeks ago, that is at least that's at least nice to see. Yeah. That there's at least an opportunity for this team to come away with a W, even if sometimes they don't. So yeah, I mean, in the end, you won the series. Like, I'm happy with that. Had a chance to sweep. Would have been nice if you swept because the Astros lost that day as well. But again, yeah, Logan Gilbert, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 10 strikeouts, back-to-back double-digit strikeout days, Joe. Going into game 3 of this series, there were some changes made, and that was J.P. Crawford coming back and Dominic Canzone being sent down. JP was in the leadoff spot. And then somebody tweeted something about how Julio was like 1 for his last 25 and hadn't hit a home run since whenever. And then, yeah, Julio in this game, in game 3, went off.
Yeah, I think, whether or not he's checking socials, doesn't matter, okay? 2 for 4, gets a pull side bomb. A pitch that, like, it was running in on him. I'm surprised he was able to get around to it and hit it out. Just got enough of it. But yeah, 2 for 4 day. Those 2 RBI coming from that home run there. It was, he was following in the footsteps of his outfielder, his other outfielder in that inning off of Tyler Alexander. Robles also hit a 2-run home run that very same inning. Mariners tagged them for 4 in that 5th inning. It was 1-1 scoreline up until that point. Castillo wasn't his sharpest. 5 2/3, 6 hits, 2 earned, 2 walks, strikes out 4. Does give up a home run to no one else other than Josh Lowe, tormenting the Mariners, it seems like, in this game, at least via the home run ball. An awkward kind of exchange when he was getting pulled out while he was trying to work through a jam to get through those 6 innings. It just looked kind of funky. Dan Wilson didn't point to the bullpen when he walked out. Like, if he had made up his mind walking out there, was not obvious, and then the little exchange between him and Castillo on the mound just looked a little funky, and it's probably just because Castillo's like, yo, I want to do this, like, let me get out of this, and Dan Wilson's like, I don't think so this time. Both gets it done. 1 1/3, strikes out 3 in the cleanup duty there. The Mariners, it was a weird bullpen day for the Rays. Like, I don't blame the Mariners for maybe not getting it going right away. I mean, I'm not trying to make excuses, but all 3 of your outfielders hit home runs in this game, which is exciting. Randy gets another one. JP in the leadoff spot, I mean, doesn't get a hit, walks once. I don't know. I'm not, like, overly concerned about him going into the leadoff spot, but if Victor continues just to goes 2 for 3 in the 9 hole, maybe keep him there. I don't know. Like, it'll be interesting to see how the lineup construction goes further there, but the Mariners come away with this one 6-2. Not a lot of strikeouts in this game. You mentioned at the beginning, this is probably the best offensive game of this series, maybe even of this homestand. What about this game says that?
I mean, specifically, it's the outfielders. You look at Julio 2 for 4, Randy went 3 for 4, and Victor 2 for 3 in this game. Those are the three guys that, especially right now, have the opportunity night in and night out to take over a baseball game. We know how good Julio is when he gets hot. If the Mariners can get a hot Julio for the next month or so before the end of the season, then we are in very good hands. If Randy continues to put the barrel on the baseball, and we've seen a few more extra base hits out of him on this homestand specifically, than we've seen pretty much ever since he came over to the Mariners, and he's still getting his infield base hits as well. And then Victor, we know how dynamic he has been ever since he came over to this team. I think that him being back from the injury, this is a big deal to have him back, especially when you have the teams in front of you, like the Twins, who at the time of recording this seem like they're going to lose again today to the Atlanta Braves. You're going to about to be 4.5 back of the third wild card spot. You're 3.5 back of the Houston Astros in the division. Obviously, you would rather win the division, but with that being said, there's also that maybe that fallback plan where if the teams in front of you in the wild card can continue to lose, you might be able to find a way into that position, Joe. And it may, in my opinion, be a little bit too early to talk about some of these offseason moves, but it's in the news right now. It's been talked about by Lyle and TJ as well as Ryan Divish. So I feel like we just have to bring it up here because what better time? Personally, I would rather wait until the offseason to have these conversations. But
But
because it's in the news right now, Joe, what was it that Ryan Divish had to say on the Marine Layer podcast?
shout out the Marine Layer boys just in general, but Ryan Divish basically kind of laid out a lot of details between like Jerry and Scott's deterioration like relationship, like how the Dan Wilson thing, whatever. But the main things that were being kind of taken and talked about on social media and whatever is the idea of having to trade one of your starting pitchers, which we talked about last podcast, mainly about Castillo and how that kind of affects like how much money, whatever, because like he's making the most money, whatever. Trading one of your pitchers for bats because free agent bats aren't going to sign in Seattle. Like it's just not a common thing for obvious reason. There hasn't been a good track record for it. Seattle is known as a pitcher-friendly park. So if you trade one of your pitchers, you the more than likely can sign someone in free agency to maybe fill out that spot and use those bats that you acquired by trading one of your big-name guys. In that podcast, Divish was saying probably Logan Gilbert is the most likely, unless Luis Castillo waives his no-trade clause. Gilbert's money that he will probably get in arbitration this offseason is probably it's over 10 million. He's going to be reaching double digits, right? With how well he's pitched, it's just the how that's going to go. And if the Mariners don't necessarily want to pay that, especially him coming off his best season yet, where he will likely finish somewhere in the around the top 5 in Cy Young voting, now might be the best time to trade a guy like him in a vacuum. Again, this could be disastrous for the clubhouse. It could further harm the relationship from the ownership to the front office into the clubhouse. Of course, it's going to hamper that in some way. But if you're looking at it strictly from like a baseball ops situation, trading a guy at his peak value when you don't think you can re-sign him because the money's just not there, because your ownership is not going to give you enough money to re-sign him or extend him or whatever, trading Logan Gilbert right now does make sense. And it leaves an awful taste in my mouth to say that. And another player that Divish notes that like if this like offseason doesn't really open up as far as John Stanton's pocketbook is concerned, a guy that you just acquired, Randy Arozarena, might also get shipped out just because of the money that he's owed, which is probably similar money to Logan Gilbert, right? I don't disagree with those takes, and Divish has been in or around the team and a lot closer. He's got a finger on the pulse better than I do because he's doing it for a job. He is there talking to those people. I am not going to like sit here and say like I don't think that's right, because there is some validity to it. Is it a smart idea? No. But as far as like what this organization has kind of like set itself up for, I don't disagree with his takes, but like from a fan perspective, it'll just be terrible if it does happen that way, Colton.
It'd be the stupidest thing in the history of the sport.
for Seattle.
For Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, Divish does have a point. He does. If the Mariners need to go out there, you're going to get the best return for Logan Gilbert of any of your starting pitchers, obviously. And when a lot of guys are not going to sign offensively with the Seattle Mariners, sometimes that's just what you have to go out there and do to mitigate that problem. With that being said, if the Mariners traded Logan Gilbert, they're stupid.
Correct.
Like he is the one pitcher in this rotation that I could honestly say has a decent chance to stay, like, and sign an extension.
Mm-hmm.
Of all the other guys in this, other than obviously Luis already did, but of all the other guys in this rotation and even the rest of this team in general, Logan is the guy that I think makes the most sense to stay just because of how much he loves pitch data, how much he loves advanced like pitching metrics and whatnot. He is the perfect fit. He is when it comes to the Mariners pitching lab, he's the face of it. And that's why from the pitching side of things, if you're trying to sit, let's assume that Logan's going to make $15 million next year or something like that. You think that's too much?
It's like I think it's like wavering on the side of like if he goes to Arb with 15 million and the Mariners like say like whatever, I think the Mariners they'd meet in the middle. Or like I don't think he'd win that Arb case at 15, but continue.
If he wants 15 and the Mariners offer him 13, they better just give him 15. I don't care.
Sure.
Don't piss him off. But like we don't need a Corbin Burns situation. But when it comes to where this team is at monetarily this offseason, sure. If they decide, oh, we need to shed payroll again like they've done for the last 50 offseasons, like they did last offseason, and they think that somehow, oh, we're going to reutilize that payroll elsewhere. That worked out so well last offseason. Worked out great. Like, no, I don't trust this front office to go out there and get the right guys by doing that, by mitigating, by selling off some salary in moving either Logan or Castillo. I don't expect them to go out there and get the guys that will make a difference because frankly, it hasn't happened. It hasn't. You have to go out there. Your only strength, the only thing that the Mariners are good at right now is their pitching staff. It's the only thing they're good at. Why on God's green earth would you go out there and change that? Why would you get rid of somebody? And I get it. The only way that you're going to feasibly get back a good bat, like multiple good bats, the package that you could get for Logan Gilbert is probably one of the biggest trade packages we would see all offseason.
Mm-hmm.
And you could feasibly go out there and acquire 2 to 3 everyday bats for Logan Gilbert. I Bleav that to be true. With that being said, from the money standpoint, you want to save some money instead of like, let's talk about it for Arozarena. You want to save the $13 million, 13 Arozarena is going to get paid. Just decline Polanco's option
and move Randy to second base.
It's so much easier to do. I mean, it's not unless you're going to go out there and sign Juan Soto this offseason, you're not going to find a better outfielder on the market this offseason than Randy Arozarena for the price.
Yeah.
You're not. And I understand there's not much at second base, and Polanco might be the only answer there. But at the same time, you have so many middle infielders coming up. Can you fake it for a few months?
Fake it till you make it.
You probably can. Yeah, you probably can. Put Leo Rivas over there. Everyone seems so intent on him being the savior. Put Leo Rivas at second base. Like, you started this season with a broken Jorge Polanco and Dylan Moore playing second base. You're telling me that you can't mitigate that until Cole Young can come up? Like, you can. It's not. I don't think you should. I think you should do everything in your power to go out there and find a second baseman this offseason. But that doesn't mean that you need to get rid of Randy Arozarena to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we saw last year, we traded Eugenio Suarez so we could allocate that money elsewhere. Yeah, that's really cool. Mitch Garver's great. Love it. So good at baseball.
Great time with that one.
Yeah. Really glad we admitted we sold off Eugenio Suarez for Mitch frickin' Garver.
Odd year. Mitch Garver's going to go crazy next year.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah. And so I think that the whole thing is stupid. I am so tired of this baseball team saying we need to mitigate. I've used mitigate a lot. I got to switch it up. We need to save money here, blah, blah, blah. No, shut up. Like John Stanton, just go out there. This is, if there was ever a time, John Stanton and Chris Larson, because from what we've heard, Chris Larson is also possibly even the bigger issue than John Stanton. If that is the problem, then go out there and just make them, like, just spend their money. And if Jerry gets fired in the process for spending their money, do it. I don't care.
If Ipe could somehow get into Shohei's bank account, what's stopping someone in the What's stopping someone in the Mariners front office just hire some like random like hacking like CS kid out of college and have him hack into his accounts and start spending the money. Just liquidate it and just start spending. Let's go crazy. Let's literally turn this into like a heist of this, like, let's take our Seattle Mariners back kind of a situation.
For legal purposes, that was a joke.
100% fabricated. This was false. It was fiction. All right.
Anyway, we got a series coming up, Joe, against the Los Angeles Angels at Disneyland.
This team is bad, but the Mariners have played if you were to look at each individual like team that you played against, how the Mariners have looked against the Angels in 2024 is probably the worst they have looked, I would say. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know what's the problem there. The Angels are bottom 5 in both Team WRC Plus and Team ERA. Yeah, the Mariners are 1-6 right now. I think that's their record against the Angels. 1-6. Got a three game set in Anaheim starting this weekend. On the bump for the Mariners in Game 1, George Kirby looking to finish out a really rough August on a high note. Get stepping in the right direction heading into September. Opposite him, TBD according to MLB.com, I swear to God, none of them have been announced. This is my least favorite thing. Fangraphs has Carson Fulmer. Okay? Fangraphs has Carson Fulmer as the opposite of George Kirby in this one. With the way that the Mariners have looked on the road, I'm scared. Because I don't want Dan Wilson's start to his Mariners managerial career being 4-2 at home to then get tarnished immediately by how awful this team has been on the road. They are 41-28 at home. They are 27-38 on the road. It's night and day difference. You need to go out there and keep your foot on the gas pedal. Start the series off on the right foot against Los Angeles with George Kirby on the bump. You have to go out there and get Game 1 win. You have to.
George Kirby needs to be better.
True.
It's just the fact of the matter. If the Mariners want any chance at the division this year, they need to win this series. Ideally, they sweep.
Yes.
But they need to win this series if they want any chance at keeping pace and even surpassing the Astros at some point during the rest of 2024. There's now less than 30 games left. You have less than 30 games to show what kind of baseball team you really are. And this team has been terrible on the road. But again, you're facing Los Angeles at Disneyland. You have a new manager. Okay, maybe the vibes have shifted. Randy's healthy. Julio's back in center field. Robles is healthy.
Mm-hmm.
JP is back. So maybe something changed. There is a real possibility that we look at this team since the last time they were on the road and say this is a completely different team due to health, due to a new manager, and due to holy crap, we got less than 30 games left. Maybe we should actually win some baseball games.
Yeah.
And
time to throttle it up.
Going into Game 2, Joe, tell me about the potential pitching matchup.
Again, TBD is just going to go out there and dice up the Mariners, mainly because this Tyler Anderson, lefty, has had a pretty solid year so far. The thing that's hard about anything Angels related is this team is genuinely horrendous. But here we are oh God, how do we beat them? Shaking in our boots. It's against Bryan Woo, who's been exceptional. I have a good faith that Bryan Woo, there's no stopping whatever run that he is on. He seems like he's in flow state on the mound, essentially. He has been lights out. You need him to be against Tyler Anderson because that's probably the best pitcher you're going to face in this Angel series. You've seen him, I think, twice this year already. So it's sure, you know what he's going to do. He pitched for you 2 years ago. 3 years ago?
Something like that.
3 years ago, 2021.
Yeah.
You know the tail of the tape on Tyler Anderson. There's nothing that he's going to hide. It's just, can you go out there and do it? And I think you mentioning this is a completely different team since the last time they were on the road trip. I agree. You've got Julio back in center. The guys you've already mentioned. I think the area in which you're probably concerned is the bullpen. because Garcia just not healthy on the injured list. Santos, no timeline for the rest of the year, basically, Hollander said. Garcia could be back sometime in September, but like right now, your bullpen has been Munoz and Snyder, who has shown that he is human, at least against the Rays. He gave up two home runs, I think. No. He gave a home run against the Giants, but he did give up a home run against Yandy Diaz in the Rays series. Has shown that he's not perfect, right? But he's been your second best reliever besides Andres Munoz. So it's like, what do you do, right? Like, who is going to be a guy that you can depend on in the bullpen? Like, they've looked great. I'd say like 75% of the time throughout this year. It's like, will you get a good Austin Voth? The last time you played the Angels, he wasn't good Austin Voth. Will you get good Trent Thornton? Will you get good JT Chargois? Like, there are guys like Gabe Spires back, but it's like, if you get late into this game with a lead, will you be able to hold it? I hope so, because I think the starting pitching every step of the way will continue to do their job. It's down to the offense of the bullpen.
That guy's name is Troy Taylor. He has been lights out
Facts
since he came up. And I think that as we go into this road trip, which frankly, the Mariners should come home. I think, this is a 9-game road trip. They should come home minimum 6-9. Like, this is not, they're not playing. You play the Angels and you play the Athletics and then you play the Cardinals.
Should be a 10-game road trip then, no?
Is there a 4-game series? Oakland's a 4-game, huh?
Yeah. So you want them to be 6-4 or 7-3?
Yes. Those are acceptable numbers coming back home after playing these bad baseball teams. If you come home 500 or worse, your chances of winning the division are probably out the window.
Yeah.
You basically, a third of the rest of your season is now this road trip. That is a third of the rest of the season, putting it into perspective. Play well over this third, and you might be able to come home in first place. Play like crap, and you're going to be looking up at the Astros, calling them your daddy.
I think,
throw up.
Yeah, I don't know why you do that. Like, it's something that we've struggled with for so long, and you're just going to just poke fun at it, make fun of us on our podcast? That's unbelievable.
That's right. Anyway, Joe, game 3.
Ageless wonder, Johnny Cueto. He's alive. He's pitching for the Angels in 2024. It'll be funny. I hope Bryce Miller does a little, like, because
does the shimmy.
He's messed with like his tempo. If Cueto's like up there, like, whoa, like, this is how you do it, young buck. I hope Miller goes out there and just like tries to match some of that energy. I think that'll be that is a fun pitching matchup for the final game on Sunday. Miller, again, double-digit strikeout his last time out, pitched very well on the road. When like the last, like, I don't have any concerns about the starters in this series, other than maybe George Kirby. Like, the fact that I'm saying George Kirby is the one I'm the most concerned about is crazy. Brian Wu, Bryce Miller have stepped up massively, especially after the All-Star break for this team. Will the rest of the team follow suit? I hope that there's some sort of urgency, because the last couple times they've gone out against the Angels, they have looked like they were just stuck in the mud, right? Someone gave them like melatonin before the game. They were just sleepy. They were just tired. They were just lackadaisical, sluggish, not doing anything right on the field. You need to go out there and play with some sort of intensity. I didn't think about the fact that like this 10-game trip is a third of your season. That's crazy to think about, like how impactful these next 10 games can be. It doesn't necessarily make or break, but it sure as hell can.
Well, the way I was going to start, what I was about to say was it's make time. So thanks for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's do or die time.
There you go.
For the Mariners as they get going on this 10-game road trip. It's going to be a big one. I just hope that they can keep things going in the right direction. And maybe the Astros continue to falter a little bit. They're about to start playing the Kansas City Royals. Go Royals, by the way. Big Royals guy fan over here.
Whoa.
Yeah, if they can win the AL Central, now is the time to really make some ground, in my opinion. So, but that's going to do it from us here on episode 117 of the Hit It Here podcast, presented by Bet Online. Once again, the Lori B episode. May she rest in peace, and go Mariners.